I remember, especially when I was younger, that I had this desire to do certain things that, for a lot of them, especially back then, they weren't that popular. Like I remember when I was 18 to go and work in a hostel, and then to do some concert photography, and then to travel and do all these things, and even more spontaneous things. And a part of me, and I feel like this becomes more common nowadays, always wish that I could look a certain cool doing that. That, if I were to travel, I could look like the guy from Into the Wild and it could all look super cool. And even though I'm not showering every day, I look still super cool. And the outfit's always nice, even though I'm poor and that sort of thing. Or if I were to, I don't know, spontaneously shave my head, I would look like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. And I do believe now it becomes even more apparent because of social media, and everyone wants to look cool and to be perceived as cool, but simultaneously to not appear as if you're trying too much. So as you're spontaneously living life, you would, and I would too, if I'm being honest, I think everyone would like to look super cool doing it, and to somewhat flow through everything without ever seeming like you're struggling too much, or that you're overthinking and feeling anxious and fearing that you're going to be embarrassed and not knowing if things are going to work out, and somewhat to feel like you're in a movie, like you're the protagonist in a movie. And just everything that you do, every step and even every misstep could have a certain touch of coolness, of nonchalantness, of it all will work out sort of thing. Now, for most people, I would say 99, if not 100% of the people, life cannot be lived that way. We cannot expect to, as we feel anxious and wanting approval of others and all of these things and taking risks and all that, to always look cool and to always avoid embarrassment and to never have you know to be sad with ourselves, and to just, I don't know, as I'm traveling, just having to buy some cheap sandwich from the supermarket and just eating that as I feel frustrated inside and lonely, and just like nothing makes sense. And I got thinking about this and thinking, especially the things that I did, but also the things that I am to do, and something that, if you're watching, that you can consider both as well. And I got thinking about the fact that, yeah, it would be pretty cool if I could have looked cool doing all this, and it would have been really nice if I could have been this movie character, and I could have done all these things with a certain romantic view to it of life, that it would almost seem like I always have this filter on and everything is super pretty and beautiful, and all these, even the negative emotions, can be portrayed in a good light. It would have been pretty nice if that could have happened, but it didn't. And life, for the most part, cannot be like that. Because if it is like that, then for most people, especially, I believe, if you're someone that thinks a lot about things, it would just not be a genuine life. It would just not be, you know, real to you. You could put a lot of effort into faking that and portraying yourself as that, but it would not be real. Yet, as I look back at all these things I've done and all the experiences and all that, regardless if they were cool or not, that I wish they would have been, yeah, that would have been cool. But now looking back, it was more than enough as they were. And I think that's where the beauty lies, that even though it was so rough around the edges, and with so many moments that at the time I remember not wanting to experience and questioning, why am I even doing this? Something wrong with me? What is the point of all of this? Did I, bit more than I can chew? Despite all of that, now looking back, it was more than enough by itself. Life and the risks I took, and I know that the ones I will take, if in good faith, like these ones were, will have the same feeling to them, the same, you know, not gratitude, but satisfaction, and sense that they were enough, because they were enough. And not because I don't want this video to be any advice, but I guess I'll pretend I'm talking to me back then, to whatever hesitation I might have had to do certain things, because I was afraid of a certain, what will others think, or will it work out or not, or all these things. Now looking back, what I would say is that if it feels right, within reason, obviously not to do anything that crazy, but within reason, if it feels right, then not do that because you're afraid of some judgment or of some things going wrong. you're just lying to yourself here as well, because you're just afraid. And you're afraid you won't be able to deal with certain emotions and experiences that are more than, you know, than acceptable to experience. Whether that's loneliness, or whether that's embarrassment, or whether that's uncertainty, or all of these things are but the other side of the coin of life that is so positive and bright and all worked out. You can have those if you don't risk the others, if you don't risk what we're talking about here. And so, especially in an age where everything is so about social media and how many likes, and your how do they call this shit, the you're building your personal brand. I would It almost disgusts me to say those words, because it's so, I think the word here would be antithetical, I believe. So opposite to really living life in a way that perhaps in the moment doesn't feel that well, but when you look back, you're like, wow, that was pretty cool. That was, if I had photos of that in an album, I'd be scrolling through them, reminiscing about it. About, oh man, that really sucked back then. What was I thinking back then? That was a bit crazy, wasn't it? But then you look fondly upon things that in the moment you were, well, you perhaps would give anything to escape them. And I think we ought to have a bit more of this detachment as much as we can from the fear. Not the bad emotions, because, that's life. We have to experience them. But the fear. Because if we are too attached to the fear and we listen too much to the fear, then we're not going to do anything. And then if we don't do anything, we don't have anything to reminisce. And if we do not have anything to reminisce, it means that we haven't lived. And all we have now is regret because we didn't do anything. And if you do stand at that point, that can happen, that all you have is regret because you didn't do anything. Well, you cannot change the past, but you can change the future. And whatever crazy things you've been delaying that you should do because you're afraid of what will others think, or what if someone records me and I look like a fool, so be it. Because even if all that bad happens, the experience itself will be more than enough. And I stand by that so much. And I say this as perhaps even as a reminder to myself of certain things that I put off, or that I avoid, or that I'm thinking too much. Oh, but that would be too cool. That wouldn't. What will other people think about me? That, is just an excuse. Yeah, some it's fair. Some things are like, yeah, you shouldn't. As I see sometimes some live streamers just going about being a nuisance. There's no value in that, because you're doing that for views and for likes and for a fame that is so short that it's almost quicker than a flash in the pan. But those are not the things we're talking about here. We're talking about what does inside of you, to your core, feels right. And these would be more of the things of, like, for example, going on a travel alone, or starting that hobby that perhaps your friends would make fun of because it's too out there. I don't know, like if you'd start doing pots on that clay machine that spins around, for example. If all you do is play video games with them, of course they would be like, what the hell are you thinking? But long after the fun has been made of you, and they would laugh and all of that, perhaps they would support. Likely they would, if they're your friends, they'd be like, that's really cool. Now they would have in their homes a pot that you made, for example. So I don't even know I'll finish this, because I hate just preaching advice here, because I didn't want this to be advice, but I'll just say it to myself. Let me, anyone listening, not restrict ourselves from doing things because of whatever fear that is never real that we have. And let us not attach ourselves to this need to be cool as we do these things, as doing things that we're uncertain of and that we're afraid and that we don't know. We're never going to look cool doing them. Life's not a movie. You're not the main, well, you are the main character, but not in the sense that, you're not Lisan Al Gaib, that you're just, the ways of the thing that you never done. It's not going to happen. And it's fine, because doing the thing itself, even if you don't look cool at all, which you won't, is more than enough.